You find yourself standing in a narrow corridor deep within the Forbidden City. The year is 1720. The imperial yellow walls shimmer dimly in the candlelight, but there is no warmth here, only silence thick as smoke, and the faint scent of jasmine incense clinging to your lungs like a warning. Your silk slippers make no sound on the polished stone floor as you follow the eunuch ahead. He moves with the weariness of someone who has walked this path too many times, his shadow swaying like a dying flame on the wall. You are 15. Your face is still round with youth. Your heart still carries the foolish hopes of a girl who once believed in fairy tales. But the air here tastes of something else, of fear, of dust, of unseen eyes watching from behind carved wooden screens. The eunuch stops, turns. His face is a mask of pity and precision, carved from years of silent servitude. "Listen carefully," he whispers. "What I'm about to tell you will decide whether you live or disappear." You nod, though your knees feel like porcelain. "You were told you've been chosen," he continues, "that it's an honor. But you were not chosen. You were taken. This place is not a palace. It's a stage. And tonight, your performance begins." He hands you a scroll, blood-red silk, wrapped around a bone-white handle. "These," he says, "are the rules, the ones no one dares speak of, the ones not written in any book." Your fingers tremble as you touch the fabric. The weight is too light for what it contains. He leans in, his voice now barely a breath. "Forget everything they told you about honor, beauty, or fate. From this moment on, your survival depends on forgetting that you were ever human." Somewhere in the distance, a fountain trickles softly. It sounds like water. But in this place, even water can echo like the ticking of a clock before execution. And so it begins. Not with a crown, not with applause, but with a whisper and a chain sliding silently around your soul. The eunuch does not wait for your consent. He begins to recite the first rule as if it were scripture. You must never, under any circumstance, turn your back to the emperor. It sounds simple, absurd even. But then he explains, you must undress while facing him, move without ever showing your spine, serve him with your eyes on his face, your body in motion like silk in the wind, sideways, fluid, practiced, like prey that never dares to flee, only to circle. His tone is clinical, like a man describing surgery. You blink, unsure how anyone could survive such a demand, but he continues. The second rule, you do not speak unless spoken to. And when you do, you must never say, I. You are this lowly concubine, this unworthy slave. Your name, your true self, is to be buried the moment you step across the emperor's threshold. The Son of Heaven, the eunuch mutters, does not make love to people. He uses vessels. You swallow hard. It's beginning to make sense. Why the senior concubines walk like dancers and speak like ghosts. The third rule cuts deeper. You must never meet his gaze during intimacy. Your eyes are to rest just beneath his chin. Always. Look into his eyes, and you risk seeing something he doesn't want you to see. And worse, he might see you. Not the role you play, not the pleasure you fake, but you, the girl underneath the powder and protocol. The eunuch pauses here. For the first time, a shadow flickers in his voice. If your eyes meet by accident, he says, you must throw yourself to the floor and beg, not for mercy, but for forgiveness, for daring to be seen as his equal. The punishment, not death, but something worse, exile to the eunuch's quarters, a living death, a fate reserved for those who forget that they are ornaments, not people. He does not ask if you understand. He knows you do. The fourth rule is silence. During the act, you must make no sound, none, not unless he commands it. Even your breath is no longer your own. Some concubines, he says, bite their lips until they bleed. Others simply drift away, mentally, spiritually, leaving their bodies behind like hollow shells. And some forget how to make any sound at all, even when they're alone. The emperor, he adds, doesn't seek pleasure. He seeks power, and your silence is his throne. The fifth rule is the cruelest so far. You must never climax before him, not because he cares about your joy, but because his pleasure is sacred, divine, the seal of heaven's will. Yours is irrelevant. So, you must learn to suppress it. You must become a scholar of delay, a master of restraint. Some women recite poetry in their heads. Others do arithmetic. You will learn how to be touched without being moved. The eunuch finally falls silent. For a moment, you forget to breathe. He turns away again and begins to walk. You follow hollowed. This is only the beginning. There is no time to rest. The corridor seems to stretch endlessly, each step echoing louder than the last. But the eunuch walks slower now, as if the next truths are heavier than the ones before. He begins again, and his voice is different, lower, quieter, as if the palace walls themselves might punish him for revealing too much. Rule 6, he says, after he finishes, you must remain exactly as you are, still, silent, unmoving, until he grants you permission to breathe again, even if your knees ache, even if his seed stains your thighs, even if the cold begins to creep into your bones. You are not allowed to wipe, not allowed to adjust your robe, not allowed to shiver. You are to remain as an offering, he whispers, a living altar, until the god leaves the room. And sometimes the god forgets you are even there. Rule 7, he continues, concerns the most dangerous transformation of all, pregnancy. You must report it immediately, he says, even if you're unsure, even if it's only a suspicion. Delay is death, a lie is ruin, and so the palace becomes a theater of paranoia. Women track their bodies like astronomers mapping eclipses, a missed cramp, a strange craving, a flicker of fatigue. Any sign could mean the start of life or the end of yours. And if confirmed, you're taken, not honored, not celebrated, isolated, watched, guarded, not for your sake, but for the child, the potential heir, the emperor's blood. You, the mother, are no longer a person, just a vessel to be preserved like porcelain until the child is born, or you break. The eunuch sighs, his eyes far away now, perhaps remembering the faces of girls who guessed wrong. Rule 8, he continues, and his voice hardens. When several of you are summoned, there is order. The favored concubine enters first. The rest, performers in an unholy ballet, take their place. Some are meant to assist, some to witness, some to compete. You will learn to smile while watching your friend be touched, to touch her in return if commanded, to pretend desire while swallowing the bile of jealousy. This is not cruelty, he says. It is control. Divide them, and they cannot rise. Pit love against survival, and they will destroy each other. Rule 9 is a whisper within a whisper. You must know his moods before he speaks. Anger must be met with humility, sadness with quiet comfort, joy with graceful celebration, but never too much, never too little. You must become a mirror with a heartbeat, reflecting only what he wants to see, never your own reflection. It is not enough to survive. You must perform survival perfectly. And the 10th rule, perhaps the most devastating of all, concerns your memory. You must remember every detail of each night, what pleased him, what disappointed him, what he said, and how he said it. But the moment you step outside his door, you must forget it all. Perfect memory, perfect amnesia, at will, without error. The women who master this become machines. The ones who fail become mad. The eunuch stops walking, turns to face you once more. There are more rules, he says, and each is worse than the last. You want to scream. You want to ask why. But instead, you bow, just as you've been taught, and whisper, "This unworthy slave is listening." The eunuch leads you into a quieter wing of the palace. The torches here burn lower. The walls are lacquered in crimson and black, lacquer so smooth it reflects your face. Twisted, afraid, no longer a child's. And yet there is more. Rule 11, he begins with a note of weariness. The emperor's desire is not yours to predict. It is heaven's rhythm to follow. It is seasonal, ceremonial. During harvest, you must represent abundance. Full hips, heavy scent, laughter in your eyes, even if your soul is caving in. During the winter solstice, you must embody warmth, soft fabrics, gentle hands, whispered promises of spring, even when your lips are blue from the cold of isolation. In times of war, you are to become a general in disguise, strong, primal, unyielding, your body a battlefield, your submission a kind of victory. You are no longer a woman. You are a living calendar, your performances aligning not with love or longing, but with cosmic legitimacy. Every festival, every ritual, every state crisis becomes a theme, and you, the actor, must always know your lines. But the stage is not always empty. Rule 12. The eunuch continues, his eyes scanning the shadows. You will be watched, not for pleasure, but for compliance. Sometimes a senior concubine observes, veiled and still. Sometimes a eunuch listens just beyond the curtain. You won't always know when it happens, but you will always act as if it is. Because here, the audience is invisible, and the cost of breaking character is real. If you cry out when you shouldn't, if your gaze lifts too far, if your expression flickers from worship to weariness, someone will report it. You learn to laugh in whispers, to arch your back on cue, to kiss like a ghost with lips but no soul behind them. Rule 13, he says next, almost gently. There will be gifts, but none of them are free. Bracelets, hairpins, silk robes. They are not rewards. They are collars made of jade. Accepting one is accepting indebtedness. Refusing one is insult. Worse still, they're used to divide you. One concubine receives pearls, another receives nothing. The first becomes envied, the second enraged. And all of you, played, manipulated, turned against one another in a game where every kindness is poisoned with suspicion. Rule 14, the eunuch says, and here his voice hardens. Your family is your chain. They are your price, your consequence. Should you falter, displease, or even be suspected, your father may lose his post, your brother his bride, your mother her standing. This rule is not enforced by words. It is enforced by fear, passed in glances, wrapped in silk letters, sealed with dragon stamps. So even in your most private pain, you remember the cost of rebellion is not yours alone. It is a debt paid in blood you do not bleed. He stops beside a carved wooden screen. Beyond it, laughter echoes faintly. Music, the sound of joy. He does not look at you. He only whispers, "The 15th rule is time. You will age, and when you do, you must pretend you haven't." Gray hairs are plucked before they appear. Wrinkles are powdered, cheeks pinched until they flush. You must mentor the girl who will replace you. Smile as she rises. Kiss her forehead as she passes you on the path to the dragon bed. And when your beauty fades, you will either vanish in silk or rot in silence. The eunuch finally turns to you. There's no cruelty in his face now, only exhaustion. "Do you understand?" he asks. You nod, you lie. Because how could anyone truly understand what it means to become a living ornament in a palace where love is outlawed and obedience is eroticized? And yet, your lessons are not over. There are still the rules of death and then of resistance. The hallway narrows, the walls grow colder, older, decorated not with gold, but with silence. You've passed the stage of performance. Now you reach the edge of disappearance. The eunuch walks slower. His voice, now heavy, carries not commands, but memories. "Rule 16, he murmurs, eyes distant. "When the emperor dies, so might you. Not by decree, but by design. Some concubines volunteer to be buried alive beside him. A final gesture of loyalty, they say. A final act, you understand. Their letters are pre-written. Their silk gowns embroidered with dragons. They smile as they walk into the tomb, their faces powdered, their hands still soft. But their eyes, God, their eyes are already gone. The ones who survive become ghosts of another kind, marked, barren, forbidden to marry, forbidden to feel, widows of a god, but no longer women. And even if spared, you are not safe. The new emperor has his own desires, his own suspicions, and you know too much. The lucky ones are sent to distant temples, cloistered in prayers they don't believe. The unlucky ones, they vanish, not in poetry, not in glory, in silence. Rule 17, the eunuch continues, and here he hesitates. There is always resistance, not loud, never loud, but there. A flower placed in reverse, a hairpin tilted left instead of right, a melody hummed slightly off-key in the bathing halls, coded messages, secret glances, shared pain. Some women hide scraps of poetry beneath their pillows, verses of longing, of fury, of self. Some write names, real names, theirs. Others dare greater acts. A concubine drinks ink, staining her insides black. Another walks backward into the emperor's chamber, defiant, eyes blazing. She does not survive the night, but her act becomes legend. One girl escapes, just one. Disguised as a boy, she vanishes into the snow. They say she still lives, somewhere far from the Forbidden City, telling her story to women who no longer want to play God's toys. These are not victories, the eunuch warns. They are reminders that even a broken doll remembers its maker. He lowers his voice further. You may be one of them, or you may not. And then, the most fragile truth of all, Rule 18 is love. You are forbidden from loving the emperor, but also forbidden from not loving him. You must simulate desire so perfectly that it seems real, but never real enough to threaten his control. If you fall in love, it will destroy you. If you don't, your soul withers. And so, most choose the third path. Pretend until pretending becomes the only thing left. You begin to forget what real love feels like. A touch without command, a glance without calculation, a laugh without consequence. And in time, you forget how to feel at all. The eunuch stops walking. There is only one rule left, the rule that cannot be written, the rule that outlives emperors. He turns to you, not as a servant, but as a survivor. The final rule, he whispers, is forgetting. You must forget the nights, the rules, the pain, the girl you once were. You must become a blank page for the next emperor to write on. And yet, deep in your marrow, it will remain a memory of being human, a whisper of who you once were, and the unbearable truth that the system never truly breaks you. It just teaches you how to vanish while standing upright. Somewhere beyond these walls, a girl is being chosen. And tonight, she will hear your voice, because even if you forget your name, you will remember how to pass the chains down. The years have passed like candle wax down lacquered walls, silent, soft, irreversible. You no longer count the seasons, not the solstices, not the festivals, only the footsteps, the ones that come and the ones that stop. Your hair, once dark as ink, is now threaded with white silk. Your skin, once like polished jade, now folds gently beneath your eyes. But you are still here, not alive, not quite, but preserved like a memory the palace refuses to forget. You live in a small chamber now, modest, quiet, always cold. No music plays for you anymore, no silk sheets, no gifts, only duty. Tonight, that duty returns. A girl stands before you, 15 years old, her eyes wide, frightened, hopeful, so familiar it aches, so familiar it terrifies you. She has been chosen. Her hands clutch her robe like a prayer. Her breath is shallow, as yours once was. She still believes this is a blessing. You do not smile. Instead, you take the scroll. The same scroll once handed to you, wrapped in red silk like a blood-stained promise. You feel its weight. You feel yourself inside it, layered in rules, suffocated in rituals, dissolved across decades. You open your mouth and the words spill out, not from your memory, but from your bones. You must never turn your back to the emperor. You are not I. You are this lowly one. You must never meet his eyes. You must forget, but remember. Her face begins to change. The light dims in her gaze with every rule. You watch her die, slowly, quietly, not in flesh, but in self. And then you realize you are no longer the girl. You are the eunuch. You are the voice that binds. You are the memory that traps. You are the whisper in the dark that ensures the cycle spins on. You want to scream. You want to shatter the scroll, burn the rules, take her hand and run. But there is nowhere to go. The palace is not made of stone. It is made of repetition, of inherited silence, of obedience passed from mouth to mouth like a curse. And so you speak, because it is all you know how to do, because survival has a sound, and it sounds like chains being wrapped gently around another soul. Far in the distance, water trickles from the same fountain that greeted you the night your childhood ended. It hasn't stopped. It never does. You close your eyes. You finish the final rule. You pass on the scroll. And in that moment, the truth lands like snow on your shoulder. You survived. But the price of surviving was becoming the thing you feared most. The chain, the system, the keeper of the lie. And the girl, she nods, just like you once did. She does not understand. She will. And so, the curtain rises again. Another performance, another silence, another shadow in the shape of a woman. The emperor will never die. Not really. He lives on in the rules, in the room, in you.